Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. It's early in the morning. But my routine in the morning is sort out comments and stuff on my own videos and that sort of thing. And then I get round to watching other people's videos. I don't comment on every one, but I try and watch everybody's videos. So, you know, it's like many people have said, just because we haven't left a comment doesn't mean we're not watching. We all do, I'm sure. We try and find some time. And time for me is plentiful now I'm retired. So that's my morning routine. But Rachel's latest video just reminded me of what I would now class as a mistake. She was dealing with her oldest orchid. And I haven't got my oldest orchid. At some point, I've just had a look in my records. My records started in March 2013. And any orchids I had at that time, I didn't have a date acquired. So I just put in that date. So I can tell which are my oldest orchids, but I don't know how long I've had them precisely. All I know is that they predate March 2013. And there aren't many of those left now. And the mistake, at some point prior to that date, I started venturing out from Phalaenopsis to trying some other types of orchids, a bit before that date. And I made the mistake of getting rid of all of my Phalaenopsis that I had sometime behind that date. And therein went away some of my oldest orchids. And it just brought back a memory. One of those orchids, a large white Phalaenopsis, I had for about 12 years at my previous house. And, you know, that would have been my oldest orchid. And I've been in this place now probably 10 years, you know, so that would have been over 20 years old if I'd kept it. But I made the mistake of getting rid of all of them to make room for the more adventurous orchids, as I deemed them then, you know, other than Phalaenopsis. So I lost my oldest orchid in that, you know, procedure. But it did dawn on me that orchids create memories. You know, somebody who gave you one, or a place you visited that you probably will never go to again, and you bought an orchid at a show or an event or something like that. So they do create memories. So I'm just holding the camera on this for something to look at. This is the Latoria type, Roy Tokunaga White Knight. It's opening up nicely now. And the colours are gorgeous, but that's not what the video is about. What the video is about is this, the Forgotten 2. They're both the same plant. This plant was deemed lost, but it has a memory because Rachel admired this orchid. This orchid was dying, and I was away for a while. When I came back, the blooms had opened. I'll put a pop-up of the bloom. They're huge, and they were quite special at the time, but the plant was dying, as I thought, due to my own neglect and leaving it in the pot too long and rotting all the roots off. What I didn't realise at that time, because this is quite a while ago, was that it was an infected plant. But Rachel said if ever I get a division of that, she would love a piece. So I said, if ever there's a division going, you're welcome to have a piece. So I've done my best to keep this flipping thing alive. And through constant neglect over quite a long period of time, it's still these two pieces are still going. They've been treated, and I've just decided to do something about them. And the first thing I'll do is give them another treatment. Basically, they are showing signs that now is the time. As I say, there's two pieces here. Now, they've both got leaves, They're not brilliant leaves, but nonetheless they're capable of photosynthesizing, and that's the only reason they're still alive, because they have no viable roots until now. Now this one has decided to put up a new growth and start a root system as a consequence. Now I still don't know whether this plant is clean, but as I said, I'm going to treat it again now, and all of those roots apart from those new ones are not viable. They're squishy, they're dead. So whether I trim them off or not is yet to be decided. I can't really cut any more of the rhizome off without losing a leaf. This oldest pseudobulb here has a viable leaf, and this plant needs every bit of help it can get. So the more leaves that I can keep for now, the more chance it's got of gaining some sugars and foods from photosynthesis to help support that new growth, because it's not getting much support from anywhere else. So that's that piece. I'd love to actually take that rhizome off just behind that new growth and just keep the one leaf, but I think that might stress it even more. So anyway, it's growing, and that's something it hasn't been doing. God, this must be 6 to 9 months now I've been messing with these pieces. Now this piece is has decided to push out one new root, not a good one, but it is a root with a growing tip, from the oldest part of the plant. And I've searched high and low, and I don't believe there are any viable eyes that I can see on this piece, except that one perhaps. And that one possible viable eye is at the base of a leafless pseudobulb, but it's the one with the root on. So that's all I've got to work with. 2 leaves, some badly desiccated pseudobulbs, a single root, and no sign of movement on any of the eyes. So I thought I'd throw some options out and see what others, if those were your pieces and you were reasonably confident that any fusarium that was in this plant has been stopped, and as I said, I'm just about to give these another spray, how would you treat them? I've sort of been doing a sort of water culture thing with them. So I've kept them unpotted. They lie on their side on one of the shelves so that the light can get, like this one would go that way up, obviously, so that the surface of the leaves faces some light, so that there is a bit of photosynthesis. But they've been in a very heavily shaded area. So first thing I need to do is get them in a brighter area, not bright light, but brighter, so that the photosynthesis can actually speed up a bit and start getting a bit more food into the plants from the top end, because there's not much going to be getting in from the bottom end at the moment. But options, carry on doing the sort of water culture treatment for a while, which is basically, when I remember, I stand them in water, and I leave them anything from half a day to a day, and then I take them out and put them back on their shelf and they dry off. And I've been repeating that on and off for some time now, and it seems to have got a little bit of life into them. The other thing is, take the bull by the horns, and even though those roots are not good, actually strap this into one of my holy clay pots with the large chunky bark, so that they can be left alone for a period of time and hopefully allow some roots to get going and get a hold of something and get hydrated in my normal way with my holy pots, which is giving them a good soak every now and again and allowing them to dry off completely and then repeating the process. And my holy pots get watered about it's weather dependent, heat dependent basically, but if we're having a hot spell, and we've had a few of those this year, that would be every second day. Whereas now we're in a dull period, it's more like every 4 days, but I adjust that. It's not done by the calendar or any regularity, it's done based on need. And I do like my holy pots to dry thoroughly in between. That's why I've put those plants in that style. So that really is the two choices. I'm not going into semi-hydro or anything like that, because that would make an exception of a plant, break up my routines, and it's just something I'd rather not do. But should I carry on doing the water culture treatment for a while? The problem being is this one, because this has got a new growth. And I'd have to be incredibly careful to make sure that when this gets plonked in the water, I don't get that new growth under the water and potentially rot it off at the base, which can happen. So it would be fiddly. Whereas if I pot it, I can just treat it normally. As I said, this one has only that one viable eye there that I can see, and it's not moving, but it might do. So that's its only hope. The problem I've got to pot that, I mean, that's how it needs to go with that particular pseudo bulb on the surface of the media and the root down in the media, obviously. To do that, this bulb at the back's going to get buried, which I'm not that happy about doing. But in the large chunky bark in a holy clay pot, it's not going to matter. It's not going to rot or anything like that. Not with that amount of air around it. It just won't. So I would put up with potting that pseudo bulb deep. But by putting it in the holy clay pot, I can strap it. You know, I can make sure it's absolutely rigid, doesn't wobble about, because, you know, with big leaves like that, it's quite top heavy. So, yeah, should I carry on doing the dunking in water for a while, or should I just get this potted up? Oh, excuse me. This cold just won't shift. I thought it had, and it decided to revisit me. Thank you very much for that. Anyway, this is a special orchid because it has a memory. It has a request from a friend. So I want to keep it alive. And I thought, I mean, this has been so close to going out under the hedge so often, and I've given it so many chances, and it looks like finally it's actually going to do something. It's responding. As I say, these roots aren't viable. They've had it. They're all soft, squidgy. But I've known Cattleya's branch from roots that didn't look alive. So I'm not taking those roots off. If they go in the holy clay pot with the big bark, and they do eventually die off, it's not the end of the world, because in the proportions of the media they would be in, it's a minor thing to have a couple of dead roots in there. It's not the end of the world. And they don't stay wet long enough for any rot or anything to set in, so it would work okay. So I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set them up in one of the holy clay pots. And because the fusarium treatment is relatively successful but is not guaranteed, I think what I'll do is put them in two separate pots. And then if one manages to grow on through and the other one doesn't, I'm not cross-infecting by having them in the same pots. As I said, I'm pretty sure that, you know, looking at this new growth and the style of the roots that are coming out, at least that part of the plant is coming on clean now. This one is unknown because it's still not got a growth on it. So, yeah, decisions. But I think the time has come to do something other than what I'm doing. You know, these roots need to get a hold of something. They need to have a chance. And so they're probably just going to get potted up in two of the smaller holy clay pots separately, strapped in nice and tight so they don't wiggle about and damage any of these new root tips. And give them a chance. Now, as far as Rachel having a piece of this, that's a long way off, I'm afraid, because I would never, ever knowingly give somebody a plant that could be infected. So until all possibilities have been removed and the plant is growing nice and strong again and putting up multiple new growths with successful roots, I've got no guarantee. So at the moment this goes nowhere, but I would like to see it grow. So that's going to be one of today's jobs, I think. I haven't got a lot to do in the orchid room today. It's all I've got to do really is water the the mounts. That's about an hour, because they're only going to get a flush today as well, so that makes it even simpler. But it would be nice to get on and do something with these. They've lasted this long. The leaves haven't died. Yes, the bulbs have desiccated. Well, that's, they're not getting any proper hydration because they've never had any roots. So I'm surprised they've lasted this long. But anyway, I'm going to see what I can do. And it's just sort of got to the point, a little jog, a little reminder from somebody else's video that I've got something that I need to deal with. The forgotten 2 pieces. So I'll obviously let you know how I get on with these. Those that have been watching quite a long time will remember when I ripped this plant apart and these were the only 2 pieces that even looked as though they might possibly make it. That's quite a long time ago now. But yeah, stranger things have happened. So I shall get on and deal with this. Okay, thanks for dropping by. See you next time.